The hosts at Clocked Out Podcast are proud affiliates and ambassadors of Cozy Earth. Life-changing luxury, nothing less than the best. Use code JORDANYA in all caps for 40% off your order. Head to Cozy Earth and find the perfect gift for this holiday season.
Blast it, raw dog that bitch.
Well, welcome back to Clocked Out Podcast, episode 9. We have a very fun episode coming your way with a certain special guest. Did anyone guess who we have on?
No one's gonna
I don't
answer
know.
you. I don't know what you're waiting
I was
on.
hoping my fellow host would say a word
Oh
or
my
two.
gosh.
No.
Damn.
Well,
Except for literally the guest. I think that was the only kind. Oh, and maybe
Morgan did.
one of our other
Morgan-
friends.
Morgan definitely guessed it.
Yep.
Yes.
okay. Well, does that very special guest want to introduce herself?
No.
All right.
Yeah. So my name is Holly Bauer, if you will. You can call me Barry.
Halle Berry.
Yeah, I am their best friends. What can I say? No, I'm kidding. I'm 30 years old. I am married 6 years now, and I have 3 little kids. I have Theo, who's 5. I have Arthur, who is 3, and then Cleo just turned 18 months.
That's a great segue into, our topic for today is all around motherhood. And so that's why we wanted to invite Holly onto the podcast so that it wasn't just Avery answering all of our motherhood questions. We can have
Yes.
another.
Have a different
As you-
perspective.
As you guys know, Stick and I are fur mamas, not yet baby
Four-legged.
mamas. Yeah.
Yes.
Baby
So thanks for joining us, Barry.
Yes, thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
So I suppose we'll just dive right into it and start asking away. Are you ready
Head
for the
first.
interrogation?
No.
When did you know you were ready to be a mom?
Ready? Well, I've always wanted to be a mom. I feel like I've known that since I was little. It was like never out of the question where I was like, do I want to be a mom? Do I want kids? I always wanted to be a mom. I grew up in a big family, so it was like, that's just something I always wanted to be. Does anyone know when they're really ready to be a parent?
No.
I don't think they do. So I got married young. I was 24. For those that don't know, my husband is 9 years older than me. So we got married when I was 24. He was 33. So we kind of knew right away we wanted to start trying after our wedding. So we didn't really have any discussion about like when or if we were going to start trying. It was like, let's just go. That sounds terrible.
You guys got pregnant right away, right? On your honeymoon?
Yes. So Theo was born 9 months and 1 day after our wedding.
Wow, you guys work pretty fast.
Yeah.
We wasted no time.
So how long after your honeymoon was it till you found out you were pregnant?
Oh, that's so funny that you say that because it just popped up on my memory. So we got married October 13th of 2018. We left for our honeymoon directly after, so the day after we left. And I found out I was pregnant. It was October 29th. I got the positive pregnancy test. So
Right before Halloween.
yeah. So I found out like right when you were able to find out, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How did you feel when you first got that pregnancy positive test?
I was super
Were you in shock?
excited. And that kind of takes me back to like the episode where you guys talked about it taking people a while to get pregnant. And in that moment, and I have such a different perspective on it now that I've been friends with Avery, who has, if you guys have listened, shared her story, and Mole her story, and my girl Stick, I was excited, but I feel like now looking back, like I was very lucky to be pregnant that fast. Like I have a different
Mhm.
perspective on it now that I'm in a different
Well,
position.
if I can say too, when you're 24 and you have never tried to get pregnant before and it just, happens the first time, how are you supposed to have a different perspective? Because no one else was having kids, like
Yeah.
around you at the time.
Yeah,
Right.
correct. Like nobody was having kids when I was having kids. So it was literally just like me and my own experience at that time.
Yeah, right. And I feel like too,
Mhm.
like that's why when I decided that we wanted to start a family, I was like, well, I'll get pregnant right away. Holly got pregnant right away just because I
Yeah.
had not anything else to compare it to.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, to a certain extent, I did with some of my friends from hygiene school, I guess.
Mhm.
But even one of my best friends from hygiene school, she got pregnant with her son right away too. So I just
Right.
figured that's what you do. You just say, I'm gonna get pregnant,
Yeah, I feel
you
like a
know.
lot of people are shedding more light on that. Like, like you guys talked about. I feel like it just wasn't talked about ever, ever, ever. Like it
Mm-mm.
was like a taboo subject. Like I don't I don't know why people just held it in.
I feel like people held it in because it was like, I mean, I still kind of get this way. It's still something that's a little uncomfortable for people to like
Mhm.
give a response back. Like, what do you say back to somebody who's like, but what response do you back to somebody who's like, oh, when they're like, oh, are you trying to have kids? And they're like, yeah, I've been trying now for 6 months. Well, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so people just didn't want to talk about it. It's like when somebody asks you, like, how's your day going? And if you were like, oh, shitty, how do they respond back to that?
Yeah, totally.
True.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, it totally is like that.
But and like that's great that you guys were able to get pregnant on your first try, and um it's exciting.
Yeah.
Would you say before, like obviously it all happened pretty fast, but would you say before you and Eric kind of had talked about like throughout your relationship, maybe prior to you guys getting married, like what type of parenting style you wanted to have, or like what type of parents you wanted to be, or did that all
Um,
transpire after?
yeah, pretty much after. I know, and I know my family's not gonna listen to this, so it doesn't matter, but I did not wanna be the type of parents my parents were. Um,
Can
I
you go
wanna
into like details on that?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's not really much, it's just, like, being present for my kids, being like, going to their sporting events, like, going to their I think just, like, being supportive in all aspects of, like, growing up in your childhood and, like, playing, going
Mhm.
outside, like, I just my
Yeah.
my parents weren't there in that way, and so I just wanted and still want my kids to, like, know, like, obviously, I'm not there yet, but, like, at a sporting event, like, look out and see that I'm there and, like,
Yeah.
be so excited to see me. Like, I just don't wanna miss those moments where, like, I feel like me growing up, like, I didn't have that type of support,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, um, at all. Like, I don't think I could confide in my parents either. So, I just want my kids to be able, like, feel loved, like, feel supported, and, like, not be scared to come to me with anything, so
Abe, did you and CJ talk about how you guys wanted to parent before kids, or are you guys still kind of like discussing that as you go?
I would say kind of like along the same lines as Holly. Not that I feel like I had the opposite childhood. Like I do feel like our
yeah.
parents were very like supportive, and they were at least one of my parents was at all my like extracurricular activities. They were very involved in my life and in the things we were doing. So I feel like I wanted to continue on that trend. I guess
Hmm.
like mom and dad were more so my role models for how I was going to raise my children. And CJ was on the same page with that. Like, his mom came to all of his sporting events too, like literally. So
Yeah.
I think, as far as CJ and I go, we are very similar in the way, like, another thing I don't love to see is like when people call their children like you're being difficult or and here's the thing, sometimes it does get really stressful where I'm like, oh, like I'm like want to tell like be like you're being a brat, but she's only 2 and she doesn't understand. So like instead of calling her like difficult, I maybe say that she's a strong-willed child, like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk down to my kids ever. I don't ever want my kids to think that I'm like tearing them down. I've seen people do that and I'm like, oh, that's not it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like with parenting, it's going to be a constant like touching base with your partner and deciding how you want to handle situations. Like, obviously, in the beginning, you guys talked about we want to do X. And then as your kids have grown and gone through different stages, I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
have touched base with your partner and been like, how should we handle this? Did we handle it correctly? Like,
And you're not going to handle everything correctly. I mean, sometimes you do lose your temper and you do things that you feel then, like, you know, your kids are in bed later and you're like, oh, I feel guilty of how I handled that.
Yeah.
That's going to happen, like, naturally. But I think if you just try to do the best you can every day and, like,
Yeah. I
you
will
know what I'm saying?
say,
Like,
yeah, I
to
will say,
reflect
like,
on it.
yeah, we have, like, started saying sorry back to them a lot. Not even more so recently. That's just something we've been doing for a little while, where if we do, like, have a blow up, you know, if we do end up, like, yelling or, like, you know, kind of blowing things out of proportion, like, we come back to them and try to get at their eye level, and we just say sorry to them. And I feel like they truly understand, like, they truly feel like that apology, because then
Mm.
most of the time, like 95% of the time, like, they say sorry back. Like, and it,
Yeah.
I feel like if they know that you can recognize your mistake and apologize for it type of situation, like, I feel like that's important for them to know and learn as well.
And it is
Absolutely.
important as a parent to try to regulate your emotions as best you can because kids feed off your energy. You know, if
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Callum can tell I'm frustrated, it escalates things. Like, I just try to stay. And if she's gonna have a fit, she's 2. She's, you know, they have to figure that out. And, like, toddlers are gonna have fits. But if you are freaking out and overstimulated, which sometimes you just are,
Mhm.
it turns out to be like the tantrums 10 times worse than if you just kind of, like, talk to them in a normal voice
Yeah.
or give them some time to figure it out themselves. Sometimes I have to walk away and let Collins kind of just have her little meltdown for a second. And CJ and I always do this too. Like, do you want a hug? And a lot of times she will come give us a hug and she'll
Yes.
calm down.
Yes.
Yeah,
Us
Mhm.
too, as well.
it helps.
Yep.
Hmm.
That also
honestly,
helps
even
for
as an
us too.
adult,
Yeah.
you know, when me and Caleb are fighting and I'm like, I just want a hug.
Yeah, it helps.
Hug me.
A good hug fixes it.
It does.
Yeah.
It
Sure
really,
does.
and it really does half the time. Or, like, we try to,
Doesn't it?
it does. More recently, Arthur's been having a lot of meltdowns, like blow up meltdowns, and I saw a TikTok or something where it said to try to point something out in nature. And so there was like a couple weeks ago, he was having a meltdown in his room, and I just went over there to him and I was like, "Oh, do you see the trees outside? It looks so windy. Like, do you see the leaves blowing in the wind?" And it, like, totally calmed him down.
Let's put him
Weird.
in a
Yeah.
trance.
Mm-hmm.
I
Kind
feel
of like
like
grounding. I think
Mm-hmm.
grounding's a thing.
Yeah.
when Collins is freaking out, when I change her diaper, because she has like diaper changes right now, we still put her up like on the changing pad because she's short. She still fits up there. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to get down on the ground if I can put you up there, but she'll start to freak out. And that's funny. Sometimes, like, out of desperation, I'll be like, ooh, look at the trees because there's a window right there.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that will help. Or, like, little, you know, like
But
ladybugs right now are real bad, or Asian beetles, whatever.
So bad.
And if there's one on the ceiling, I'll be like, can you find the bug? And she'll start looking and then she'll point it out, you know, like if you
Mm-hmm.
give them something like else to focus on, usually that helps too, right?
Yeah, that day I
Mhm.
watched her, I distracted her with my nails.
Yeah.
I
See?
was like, "Look at my
wow,
nails."
She's
Stick, you
like,
should be able
wow.
to write those off in taxes.
Honestly,
Honestly.
I should.
Holly, you and I have talked about too before, like when we even had little babies, like, you know, like the witching hour and stuff. If I would take Collins outside or I would give her a bath, either one of
Yeah.
those almost
Well,
always made her calm down.
yes, they say, like, water. What was it? It's like water outside or, like, in
Probably
water.
water, earth.
Yeah.
It's
Anything like
something
that.
like
And she
that.
would just stop.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Hmm.
strange.
Yes, very strange.
All right. Stick, do you want to go into the next question?
Yes. How has becoming a mother changed you as a person?
I'll let you answer first, Holly.
Avery always pulls
That's
that.
that's crazy.
It's a loaded question, that
It
It is a
one.
loaded
is.
question.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna pull the Uno reverse on Avery. I'm
Okay.
gonna have her.
Reverse, reverse.
I think that's fair. That's fair. I mean, in what ways hasn't it changed me? Like, I know that sounds cliche, but um oh my gosh, like things that mattered before, I couldn't care less about now. Like, okay, I struggled. This is something super bizarre that you're gonna be like, what the heck? But like CJ and I like hate clutter. We hate like, if the dishes are dirty, like we couldn't go to bed before if the dishes were dirty. Like having a constantly clean house. Our laundry was always done. Just like cleanliness. And now like if there's a little clutter, there's a little clutter. If
Yeah.
she wants to eat yogurt with her hands and get it all up in her hair, whatever. We'll just give her a bath. Like it was a hard thing for me to like honestly when she started feeding herself and like smearing pasta sauce like in her eyes. Like that was hard for me to let go.
Every time.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
terrible. But like I think it actually parenthood has made me more laid back. I feel.
So like would you say
Kinda.
like it kind of sounds like the lesson you learned then is this is going to sound cheesy, but to like accept the things you can't control, where I feel
Yeah.
like maybe before it sounds like you and CJ were a little bit like control freaks, and now
Yeah.
it's kind of like you can't like
You're
you
more
can't
laid
control.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like obviously if she's doing something dangerous or like she's gonna hurt herself, we're not gonna let her just have a free for all with that. But like, yeah, it's taught us to be more like it's okay if we have 3 baskets of clean laundry that haven't been folded for a week.
Hey, at least they're clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, we're doing the best we can, and I think as well, like I think I've always been a pretty compassionate person, but I think having a child has made me 10 times more compassionate. Like,
I agree.
yeah, and it's made me slow down life a little bit more. Like things aren't that serious. Like if my family's okay and my friends are okay and like then I'm okay. Do you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like the
Yeah.
little things in life, like you just need your family now, and I don't get hung up on like, oh, I don't
Drama.
have the nicest this, I don't have the nicest that, or yeah, or even drama. Like
Mm-hmm.
if there's work drama or whatever drama it is, I'm like, whatever, like I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I
But
feel
Unbothered
like
queen.
I
yeah.
feel like it's made me have so much more respect for other mothers. Like I think there
Mm.
is a part of you like you don't know what it's obvious like to have a human child. And so, when you're at the grocery store and you hear this child screaming or your toddler
Freaking
throwing a literal tantrum, I used to be like, "Oh, take him out." Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't
I'm
it
out of here.
wasn't and it wasn't rude, but I feel like now I just like don't even hear it anymore. Like I hear it of course, but I don't care. Like
But
I
like maybe you hear it in a different way to where
I
like you feel for
do.
that mom,
Yes, and I'm
you
like,
Mhm.
"Oh,
know?
like do they need help? Like does she need someone to take,
yeah,
Yeah. So I feel like
especially if she's fighting multiple kids. I'm like, you want me to get in there? You want
yeah.
me to
You need
distract
these
one of these?
hands?
Yeah.
You
You want
need
me to try to distract one so you can get control of the other one? Like, because that's a scary thing for me too, thinking about taking 2 kids out in public. And like, if Collins is having a freak out while the baby's having a meltdown, like,
It
it's
makes me
scary.
sweaty.
Yeah.
I feel
But
like
now,
you 2 having kids has made me more compassionate in that way.
yeah.
Like, even hearing kids scream in a grocery store on an airplane, I'm like, "They're
I'm like,
just a baby. They're gonna scream or they're gonna have fits." But
mhm.
before, I'd be like, "Whose baby is crying on this
Who is
airplane?"
it?
Ooh.
So like
Rachel.
I have a story from that because like I agree stick with you completely is like them having babies or my other friends having babies, like I completely understand, but it's almost like, and I know this is a little off topic and I don't need anybody to respond to this, but me and Caleb were at a restaurant the other day and there was a baby crying and you could tell like it was a pretty fresh baby, like maybe the parents had, it was the first night out that they were like, let's go get dinner and like try and enjoy ourselves and like get out of the house. And this baby was crying and there was this table of older women. Like I was thinking in my head like they were probably in their like 60s, like low 70s. And I was like, "Oh, they're gonna like help this mom and like this and that." They were bashing her so hard. Like they were staring at her and being like, "Get your baby out of here." Like it was
Mm-mm.
the most rude thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life from
Mm-mm.
older women. I was like, "Did you forget that you were probably also in the same situation?"
Yeah.
Not
It's a,
like,
I think it's a
Well,
at some point.
generational thing. Generational,
Yes.
though. Like,
I
I
think that's why that makes me more compassionate though, because if I was out in public with you guys with your kids and someone was treating you guys like that, I would lose my fucking mind.
yeah.
I didn't even know this
absolutely.
lady and I was on the defense. I was like, "Does she
Yeah.
need me to back her up? I'll take my earrings out."
No,
Me
Do,
too.
literally.
do you think it's with that generation? Maybe they didn't have help.
I
Yeah.
do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because the mother was expected to do everything, probably in
Yeah,
that
And I think they
generation.
just didn't
yeah.
go out in public for a very long time. Like I think they were just told
Yeah.
to stay at home and
Yeah.
do the
Take care of the
dishes and
baby
take
and
care of
make
the
your
kids.
husband meals.
Be your
Clean the house.
homemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
Literally.
same time, I want to tell those older women, try being in the new, like the now age women's shoes. You know what I mean? Like we do way, like I'm not bashing them too much, but I was like, we do a lot more. There's a lot more expected of mothers now. Like
Mhm.
your kids need to be in all these activities. They need to have all of these like you have to bring treats to school. You have to celebrate their birthday. You have to drive them to sports. Like you also might have to work. You might have to go to school while you have kids. Like there's a lot of different things now to where I wanted to tell those old ladies like stick it where the fucking sun doesn't shine, lady.
Pound sand.
And what are you
Yeah.
supposed to do? Just keep your kids cooped up at home all day. Kids are going to be kids, and kids deserve to be in
Right.
public too. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I
eat it,
agree.
you know?
Anyways,
Yes.
Back on topic.
back on topic. So how would you say like okay, so I know we kind of skipped around a little bit, but I think a lot of women and it's something that's a little taboo that maybe not everybody talks about yet, but it is becoming more common. What would you say like your experience was like post birth? Like did you experience any postpartum depression or any like body dysmorphia issues or kind of how did you work through that if you did? And if you didn't, that's great and I love you for it. You look great, but if you did, let's hear it.
You're blessed.
Yeah. Yeah, I did have a rough time after all of my kids. So I feel like the time I hated the hospital. I can't sleep there. And yes. And so after you give birth, they're literally like, as long as your baby does not have any issues and have to go to the NICU, that baby from the moment they exit your body is yours. You
It's your problem.
and they literally and they just put you in mother baby, and they're hoping that you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, most of us don't. And I remember when we had Theo, our first baby. Cassandra was working. Shout out Cassandra. But she was super helpful. We were panicking. Like the baby would start crying or like the baby. Theo.
The baby.
And Eric would literally run out into the hallway at the hospital and be like, "We need help in here." And like the baby was just like just like needed the baby again. He just needed burps. Like and he ended up like puking, like
And
spitting up, and we were like, "What do we do?" Like what?
and I would like to point out Eric was like 33. Think about 17, 16, 17-year-olds.
Yeah, I can't
Being
imagine.
Yeah.
left with their kids too.
No.
Yeah.
It's
And
scary. And you
yes,
got
it
someone's whole ass
is.
life in your hands and they just are like, here you go. Yeah. And spitting up at first is terrifying. Collins was spitting up blood at first, but it was blood that she inhaled when she was birthed.
From
Like when
the
she came through the
amniotic fluid.
canal. It's my blood. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like my blood. So like, but I thought, I'm like, God, she has internal bleeding. Why is she coughing up blood? You know what I mean? And the
Like the
doctor's
worst
like,
thing.
that's not what it is. Yeah.
And
It's
they're so freaking tiny.
yeah, and I had a medical background to a certain
Yeah,
point,
but
and my mom was
throw
there,
all
who's a
that
nurse, but it doesn't
throw all that
matter.
to the window because you might be highly hopped up on medication or exhausted to where like you aren't thinking properly and then they're like shoving this
Right.
newborn baby in your face like to Holly's point and you're kind of looking at it being like wait a minute like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
What is this thing?
Like I'm
Yeah.
paying
Like
thousands of dollars for you guys to help me.
Yeah. And I
Literally.
know that I pushed for a little over 2 hours with Theo, and I know Avery pushed for 3 hours with Collins. Avery?
It was about 2.5 because they said if it got to 3 hours, I was gonna
Oh,
probably have
that's
to have a
right.
C-section, but
That's
I
right.
got her on out of there. I said no.
And not only that is truly the most exhausted I have ever been in my entire life after pushing.
Not to Holly, and not to mention like I don't know with Theo. Did you get to sleep at all? Like I got induced on a Wednesday night, and when I tell you, I didn't sleep from Wednesday night until Friday morning
Right.
around maybe like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
Like I
no.
literally never slept. It was
Yeah,
terrible.
I didn't get much sleep, no, because you're in pain, you're uncomfortable. So I went in
Yes.
on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. to be induced, and I did not have him until Sunday night at 9:38, I think I had him. And then I had
Yeah.
him, and then with your first baby, I feel like they normally keep you there a little longer.
Yeah.
And so not only that, so you just birth your baby, and then you're staying there for another 24 to 48 hours, also not
I was
sleeping.
there from
You're
one.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
there from Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Wednesday through Sunday?
Yeah, because I started my induction Wednesday and I didn't have her until Friday at 12:50 a.m. and they didn't let me leave until 48 hours later. Yeah.
So then obviously you guys are talking about like your experience in the hospital and kind of how I don't know, like for me, like I don't have a kid, right? So I'd expect like my first time in the hospital, like they would be there kind of teaching me these things, like teaching me how to feed a baby, how to burp a baby. Like even though I have you guys and like I've held a baby, like I held my coworker's baby the other day and it looked like maybe I'd never even held a baby doll. Like I was floundering.
Well,
I was like, I promise I'm not going to kill your baby.
it's scarier when it's someone else's kid. I think when it's your own, it's a little
Mhm.
more natural. Would you think so too, Hal?
Yes, and I just wanna circle back, I feel like we're really getting off topic here. So, yes, I dealt with not with postpartum depression with Theo not till a little later. Um, the first couple weeks are hell. I will say the first 2 months are, like, you're, drowning, and I know I'm speaking for myself here.
I would
Um
say even like two. I would agree though. Like after like 8 to 10 weeks, it gets better.
Yeah, like Theo didn't sleep except for on our chest. And I know Collins was the same way for you guys.
Yeah.
And we were so scared that, he was going to stop breathing. And so, like, one of us was always awake. And then I was nursing. I nursed Theo for the first 2 months. Shout out to those nursing mothers. You guys rock. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. And so, like, I always had to be nursing him, but I was also not sleeping because Theo had to sleep. It was just crazy. Like, I don't recommend those first couple months. It's just really
You're
hard.
also like,
It's really hard, and I got the baby blues, like, I got really bad. After all 3 of mine, I get into, like, this weird funk, which I would assume are, like, the baby blues, and I'm just sad, crying. I don't know why I'm sad. Like,
mhm.
I don't really wanna see anyone. It's just hard. Like, it's a very hard.
Hormone crash.
Yeah.
Hormone crash too.
Mhm.
Like they don't like you don't even feel like yourself. Sleep deprivation, hormone crash. Your life was turned upside down because you don't know what it's like to have to care for something else 24/7 that's not yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
like it's a shell shock to the system in many, many ways. And I think too, like with Holly saying that with like her first child, I had the baby blues too. I wouldn't say I had postpartum depression. I would say it lasted until literally I could rebound on my sleep and maybe my hormones leveled out some. But I tell everybody now, like my friend from hygiene school told me this after she had her first baby. She's like, "You're gonna be like, what did I do?"
Mhm.
And CJ and I did do that. We
You had
verbally
that
said
moment?
to each other, yes. It was like the third night we were at home. So at this point we hadn't slept for like a week. And Collins was super fussy that night and we were trying to sleep in the spare bedroom and like I was still trying to breastfeed and my milk wasn't coming in, which it never did, spoiler alert. And so but I wasn't ready to give up on it and I didn't want to give her formula. So she was probably hungry, to be honest.
Yeah.
My girl was hungry. Eventually, yes, I caved. I gave her formula, thank God. But we like looked at each other. It was like 2 a.m. and we're like, what did we do? Why like not that we didn't love her, but we were like, we had it so easy. We purposely made our lives hard. And but that's normal, I think, when you go through such a huge life change. I mean, you can't even explain it until you go through it, is what I would say. Right, Hal?
Yes, I agree. I
Like,
totally agree. And I feel like having 3 now, going from 0 to 1 was the hardest transition for us.
yeah. And I feel like that, I mean, I can't speak to it yet, but I already feel like a lot less nerves around having another baby because we've been there. I'm already expecting it to just be trash for about 2 months. I'm already, it's fine.
You
Like,
know
I'm
what,
already
though?
counting that off.
It's not as bad as it was with the first. Like, that's what I'm saying. You know what you're doing a little more. You kind of know what to expect. Um, you have you have a lot more knowledge when it comes to like a newborn at that point. So it's actually quite a bit easier. Speaking for myself, of course, again, but I just feel like you're not totally like being thrown into motherhood,
Yeah.
without knowing
But,
anything.
right. But then Holly, then I'll circle back around to the postpartum.
Mhm.
You had your worst postpartum with Arthur though, right? Your second.
Mhm. Yes, I sure
Mhm.
did. That's a whole story. So, yes, I did. Um, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, I've shared about it on my social media a little bit. So Theo was speech delayed, and we didn't really start noticing it until I was like halfway halfway through my pregnancy with Arthur. And at that point, like when you're a mom, you start to spiral and think quite literally worst case scenario. So we thought something was wrong. Like we didn't know what to do. Um, like we talked to his pediatrician. We got referred to um, for early intervention for speech. But at that point, I was like spiraling out of control. I was like breaking down. Like I even made Eric cry at one point because I thought something was wrong with Theo. And so after I had Arthur, that was like when it was still like majorly going on. And it, yeah, I ended up having to get on antidepressant medicine, which I'm still on, um, because I was not doing well at all. Like it's just, it's so, I think postpartum, like your hormones, the shift, the drop, along with me being like so worrisome about Theo. Yeah, I didn't do so well for quite a bit of time.
Well, and then also adding another baby on top of that. Like you're already so worried about your one baby, your first baby. And then you're like, now I have to care for another child just as much as I care for this one. And
Hmm.
it's just overwhelming, right?
It's a lot
Like,
on your plate
So
at one
overwhelming
time.
because Arthur's a newborn. You have like his needs absolutely need to be met. Theo is not talking, and I have no idea if he understands, if he's sad, if he's happy. Like obviously
mhm.
there can be that really hard transition bringing a baby home with another child, and it didn't go bad at all. But in my head, I was like, what is he even thinking? Like it was just a really hard transition, I think, for all of us.
So then how would
Yeah.
you, and either Holly or Avery, how would you say that you kind of took care of yourself during that time?
Yeah. So I knew what was going on in my head. Like I knew something was not right. I went at my, is it 6 week postpartum? Gosh, it is.
Yeah.
Um, that I needed to do something, and my doctor did put me on Zoloft that at that point, just 25 milligrams, just to see if it would help me feel better. And at that point, that's what I was looking for. Like, and I also will say, having a supportive partner 100% helped me. Like I couldn't have done it without Eric. Like there are times where he just like told me to leave. Like I could leave and just go do something on my own, go
Mhm.
take a shower, like do you need to go
Yeah.
for a walk kind of thing. Like he let me go do whatever I want whenever I wanted in those times where I was like really struggling. So I will say
That I totally agree with Holly on that. That was CJ too. Like if he could even still, if he senses that I'm having an
me
overwhelmed day, like I've been at home with her all day and he's like, you should go take a drive. I'm like,
Get some
sounds good.
taquitos.
Yeah, yeah. Go get Starbucks. I'm like, bye. Say less. I don't.
See you around.
Eric
Yeah.
did that to me today. Actually, I was
Did
like
he?
having a morning. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like very like how do I want to say it? Like I was like short fused with everybody.
Mhm.
And he's like,
Yeah.
do you want to go get some storage containers from Target? And I was like,
Say less.
yeah. and
Yes.
I
By
was like,
myself.
And anything else that falls in the cart.
Yeah.
oh gosh, how did that get in there?
Honestly, I feel like in your guys' situation, I would be like, worst case chore, give it to me. I don't give a fuck. Like, you want me to take out the trash? You want me to drive it to the fucking trash dump? I'll do it. Like, get me out of the house.
And I do that. And that does happen for me. That
Yeah.
is, I'm like, I'll do it. I'll take it. Like, I'll go to the grocery store. Like, I'll
We
do
were
this. I'll do
we,
that.
right. I was even like, I'll mow the lawn. Like
Oh,
I don't
wow.
want to mow the lawn, but if I want to get a little bit of just silence, I'll mow
What do
the
you mean,
lawn.
Avery? I'll
It's no
get you one of
problem.
those beer caps. You can put 2 beers, one on each side, and you can mow the lawn and have a little bev.
Just put in just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds nice
Yeah,
too.
no problem.
I will say for me, like on a lesser scale of taking care of myself, like this first time around, my first postpartum sucks. It's terrible.
mm-hmm.
I feel like people don't talk about it enough, and people are like, and maybe some people don't have the same experience as I had or Holly had, but like postpartum, I don't even know who, like, I think about it sometimes and I'm like, I didn't even know who I was. Like, it was very like identity crisis for sure. And I would say something that helped me every day, because I had my baby, well, Collins, in November. So it was like dark outside all the time and it was like snowing and you can't take a baby out if it's negative 50-degree wind chill. And so
Well,
I was just like trapped in my house, and my house is not big. My house is 1,500 square feet. I have 2 dogs. I couldn't get away from anything. So I would just take a shower every single day for like an hour. To be
I love a
honest.
good hot shower though.
Yeah.
How
And
is
I'd
that
put a
water bill
podcast
looking
on.
though?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
We
It'd
didn't
start to
care.
turn cold on me and everything. Yeah.
CJ paid
And
it.
I'd still stand in there.
He's like, we
Yep.
don't care.
And then yeah,
No part
he
of that.
didn't. And I also would pick out like a show that I really liked and would binge watch television. Probably not good for me,
I
but
heard this thing on TikTok the other day and it said like if you can't and this kind of I feel like can touch anybody, whether you're a mother or you know you're a wife or you're a girlfriend or a friend, even like if you don't make time for yourself and allow like yourself to kind of heal and like value your who you are, like you aren't able to give that to anybody else. So it is very important for the dad to allow the mothers to have that time. But I also think it's a little hard because as like the women that I know both of you are, and I know that Stick is and I am as well, like I think during that time you kind of, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but for me, I know going into that situation, I'm going to feel like you're just lost. Like you're sitting at home all day, you're feeding a baby, like you're not able to really do as much as you used to be able to do. So you just kind of feel like this
at
sounds
all.
bad. I'm
You
saying it
don't
blunt,
do.
but you feel a little worthless, even though like you just feel kind of like you're just like waking up to feed somebody to,
Going through the
yeah,
motions.
It was
Yeah.
Groundhog's Day every day with a
yeah.
newborn.
It is.
Sometimes I didn't even get dressed, which I do not advise. Honestly, think when I started getting dressed, it helped me feel better.
Yeah, just putting yourself
And
together.
yeah,
Yeah.
just putting on like a bra,
Putting on
you know?
clothes,
Yeah,
washing your
bro.
face. Like
Yeah, bra. And I think too, like what people don't talk about, Call, you kind of touched on it for a second there. Like the women also, your body just went through a traumatic event. And now they're like, stay up all night. Like, you know what the most important thing for like healing is? Sleep. And no, you're not gonna get that. So
The other day
yeah.
too, I feel like I hear so many
Sorry.
things on TikTok, but they put it in a good perspective, and you guys can tell me, maybe I can ask you guys this question if you agree or if you don't agree, is that they say after you have a baby is obviously naturally the mother's focus goes to the baby, right? And then the
Yeah.
husband
hmm
might start to feel where marital problems start to incur as they start to feel that the wife is no longer giving them the attention that they used to, and they're kind of this awkward third party where men kind of need to transition into, okay, if my wife is focused on the baby, I need to be focused on my wife so that my wife can then focus on also herself, and then the
In
triangle is like complete. Like there's not that off balance that a lot of marriages go through with having that first baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that statistic. It
yeah,
makes me want to throw up.
that's gross.
But it is very real. I think men are like, "Oh, why don't you love me anymore?" And I'm like, "Grow up, you're a full grown man." Um, I can speak for Holly on this too. Our husbands were not like that, and they did support us. So like CJ let me put all my energy into Collins, and he did literally whatever I needed him
Well,
to
and I
do.
think that
Yeah, it's like
Literally.
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
get what you give.
yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's, you
Yeah.
guys are obviously very lucky that you had that experience, but there are women out there that maybe don't have that. And I think one message that you can share maybe with your husband for those that don't have that experience is the more focus that like I'm here in these months, like I have to give my energy to the child. Like I just have to, whether you're breastfeeding or you're not, like you are the sole caregiver mostly. And your husband should
Mhm.
be then picking up the slack as in doing the dishes, going grocery shopping, giving you an hour break to take a shower. And then when you have that time or maybe that little bit of energy because they let you sleep in an hour longer, you can give them that affection back. But if they aren't willing to do that, like don't expect me to give you any affection.
I will
Yeah,
say too, like I don't even think CJ was worried about affection all that much. We were both so tired. We were just trying to survive. Like he didn't need me to be rubbing his back or telling him he's handsome. We were
I don't
just
know.
oh
trying to
I don't
live,
know if they
okay?
gosh.
want you to rub their
There's
back.
Well,
I
you
don't
know what
know if
I
that's what he
mean.
wants rubbed.
Well, that's
I
not going to be happening.
Maybe a
Yeah.
like
Snickers.
Yeah.
take one.
Honestly, I'm
I will say,
hungry.
like, yes, you cannot pour from an empty cup, and, Avery and I were so lucky that our partners are so supportive, and, yeah, Eric literally did whatever I needed him to do whenever at any point in time.
Yeah.
Um, I just can't imagine, like, those women that don't have, those partners, those significant others. Um, yeah,
Or
I can't
even
imagine.
like family and friend help. Like I will say I don't know, Holly, if you felt this way. It was for some reason it was hard for me to like accept help from outside people that wasn't like CJ or my mom. But like I will say this time around, I'm not scared. I'll be calling you. Keep your phone on high. You two stick.
Do not
Mommy
disturb.
needs a nap. Come get your toddler.
D&D.
And yeah.
D&D all day.
Yeah, come on.
I'm just
Right, the
kidding.
number that
But
you've
it's
tried
like,
calling is blocked.
It's no longer in service.
But Eve, I
wow.
think
So
I
nice
feel
of
like
your
you
life.
saying that a lot of women probably could feel that same way because we are like grown and raised to believe that, as a woman we should be able to do it on our own. Like I feel like with that older generation, like that's how it always was.
Yes. No, like, do it yourself. Like, you're the mother, do everything by yourself kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, McCall? Well, and I think too, naturally, like, you're vulnerable, your house looks crazy. You don't want people, like, in on your, um, like, chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want them in on your chaos, but then at the same time, like I feel like there's something instilled in you that you feel like you should be able to do it on your own. Like,
For sure. Like, you shouldn't. Yes, and actually, I even felt like that with breastfeeding too.
I'm not very close with my parents, I will say, like, not like I feel like my mother was not very like maternal, so like I don't reach for her like when I'm sad. I don't call her if I need a helping hand. Like usually my friends are like one that's gonna answer my phone call. You better fucking answer. And so like
We'll
when
see.
yeah, we will see. I'll block it.
Fine.
I will say like I did not want my parents to help me at all. Like it actually didn't want them to come over.
but do you think
um
because you felt that way because you were
That's
feeling
fair.
like what you're saying, like very vulnerable maybe, and just like, oh,
yes and
you
no.
wanted to shield yourself from everybody else?
No, I think it's because my parents weren't very active in my other kids' lives. I'm like talking like when I had Arthur and then when I had Cleo. Um they were always like one of the first people to like want to come visit the baby, but they hadn't seen my other kids in months.
Yeah.
Mm,
No.
It was like this new
And
shiny toy that they can brag about on social media. Um
yeah.
I just didn't want that. I had like the
but they weren't
ick.
gonna come stay the night and do, like, the night feedings and do the hard stuff.
Absolutely not.
And
Absolutely
see,
not.
my mom came and stayed the night that we got home from the hospital. I was so tired. I thought I was gonna die maybe, and CJ's eyes were, like, bloodshot. He didn't look
Drama.
good. Yeah, and CJ's like, "It's okay, you can go." I started crying. I was like, "I'm so tired." And he's like, "It's okay, you can go to bed. I'll stay up with the baby." And I'm like, "No, you're gonna fall asleep, like, while you're holding her, and you're gonna kill her. Like, you're gonna suffocate her." And
Yes.
he's like, "Do you want me to call your mom?" And I'm like, "Yes. Please call my mom." And she came over and she stayed the night with Collins the first night home.
That's like real and raw feeling. So I know we were just laughing about it, but that is so
Yeah.
serious. Like you are
Oh,
almost to
yeah.
tears because you're like, what are we doing? Like, I'm so tired. How am I
I
even
was
going to stay
sobbing.
awake? How am I going to stay
Yeah.
awake to take care of this baby that needs me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it really was like that, and she was still doing that spit up, like, where it
Hmm.
looked kinda, like, bloody, and I was like, "This will send me over the edge if it happens in the middle of the night and I'm by myself half awake, half asleep," you know? And my mom stayed that night, and Collins didn't sleep again all that night, so imagine if she didn't stay that night. I wouldn't have made it.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it. Yeah. So it's lucky, I will say, like, Holly, I see where you're coming from because, like, if they're not going to help you with the hard stuff, you don't need them to just come over and hold your baby and take a bunch of pictures for an hour or
Yeah.
two and then leave and do
Yeah.
nothing, not be of any help to you. And my mother in law came over too a couple times and, like, um, held her in the rocking chair while CJ and I went upstairs and we just took a nap, you know?
My in laws are heaven sent in every aspect
Yeah.
of our lives, but like, I I just love them so much. And I feel the same. Like she always would ask me, like, do you need anything? Do you need me to come over to watch the baby, like, while you nap? And like, if you need a nap, and, even now, like, they still, like, will watch the kids for us. It's so nice. But yeah, my in-laws were super, super supportive in that sense. Like when we first, like, fresh babies,
Yeah.
when you need that, maybe 30 minutes of silence.
Extra.
If
Yeah,
I have a
Yeah.
kid, Jackie and Dawn better saddle up.
they will.
Yeah, but they'll both be helpful.
No, they 100% will, but they're gonna be getting the phone calls.
Oh, Jackie's gonna be moving in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
both
your
of them.
mom, yeah, but I truly think Jackie will stay with you for a couple weeks.
She's on it. She's
I
on
told
it.
her
She's
she was
gonna
gonna
live with it.
raise it.
Basically.
It's actually her child.
Like, you got this?
Would you say that your one piece of advice, I guess, with like postpartum depression or working through like that hormone drop would be to, would you say like allow yourself to kind of feel those emotions, rely on your significant other as well as like extended family if you have that available, and don't be ashamed to ask for help? Like, is that kind of your advice that you would give to mothers or soon to be mothers listening to the podcast?
Precisely.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I know that sometimes, like, when you're in the moment, it's hard to ask for help because you're like, well, maybe this will go away. Like when my hormones settle down, or like maybe this will go away when the baby is 2 months old. But like, I knew, I was like, this is not right. Like, I did not feel okay at all. And so I'm very glad that I said something to my doctor, and she was just very supportive. And she asked me, she's like, well, do you want to, like, she didn't offer me medication right away at all. But she said that was an option. And I did say that I would like to try it because at that point, like, it had been 6 weeks and things were not, like, I was not feeling better. And like I said, I started that after Arthur. So he's like 3.5 now, and I'm still on it. And I've tried to come off of it, and I'm just not ready.
Not
It's
there
Well, and
okay.
I
yet.
think, Holly, I think, I'm going to applaud you on that because I think there's a lot of women that maybe, or a lot of women and maybe a lot of men who just kind of push that option like to the wayside further and further and try other things rather than like allowing themselves to be raw and be like, you know what, like it's been 6 weeks, nothing else is working and I'm ready to try something. Like I think a lot of people struggle for so many years or months because there's just such a bad thing wrap around medication, but it's all about the person that's taking it and like do your own research, understand your own, listen to your own body and kind of make your own decision. Like obviously don't let your doctor shove that down your throat, but um
Yeah,
I mean,
Be your own
hell
advocate.
yeah.
I agree.
Avery's
Mhm.
Avery's
I'm big on that one. That's
yeah.
my motto.
Thanks, Abe. I hear that every day.
Honestly.
I want to give one little bit of advice that no one told me about, and maybe Holly did, but maybe she also didn't want to scare me. I don't remember. I don't remember truly. One thing that shocked me that I had never heard anyone talk about until after I had a baby and experienced it, and now like I see it like on my TikToks or like on Reels or whatever, like women talking about it now, is like the nighttime scaries that you get with your babies. Like when it would get dark outside with Collins, I'd be okay like all day, and then nighttime would feel like I was gonna die. I
Literally.
literally would feel impending doom, like I was in danger, like fight or flight, like because I was all I wanted to do. And by the way, it was getting dark at about like right now, like 5 o'clock, so it was dark for like ever, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna want to do is sleep," and I know that's not gonna happen. Like I would be so anxious for how the night was gonna go. Like it, it was just like this phenomena that I didn't expect. I guess.
I couldn't agree more. I only had it with Theo, though.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah. But yes, I also had that. And Eric would always say something to me. Like, we'd make a joke about it after a while, but like, nighttime would come and he'd be like, oh, like, you always get weird around nighttime. And I'm like, yes, because I know, like, I'm anxious. I have anxiety. Like, I know what's to
Yeah.
come. I'm not
Yeah.
sleeping. Like, and if I am,
No,
like,
it's
I'm
gonna be
gonna,
terrible, broken
yeah,
sleep,
yes.
and I'll be anxious anyway. I'll be waking up in a sweat, making sure that my baby's
So then,
breathing,
Holly,
Yep.
and that's
how
what
did
it
you work through
was.
that with your other kids? Do you think it was just a knowledge of knowing what was coming and knowing it'd be okay, or was there something that you would do?
I know they don't recommend this. We ended up co-sleeping with all of our kids for a little while. Actually, with Cleo, she slept in the bassinet, so I will say just Theo and Arthur for a little while. Um, I think it just eventually trickled away. Like, it didn't last forever. In the days, I feel like go by so slow, but then the weeks are so fast, and then they're 2 months old and 3 months old, and then, you come out of your fog eventually, and then you want another kid, so
Now, I mean, even like maybe 5, 6 months postpartum, I felt like myself again. Like I
Mhm,
found myself again, and it went back to normal in a sense. Like it's your new normal now. You've adjusted to it, and you're on a new routine, and there's new responsibilities and stuff. But like I could feel myself like come back to life almost. Like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fine. I can handle this now, and
Mhm.
um, and it like, and then you can't imagine it any other way, obviously.
mhm,
But being a parent, like, and it's the best ever. Like that's the other thing on top of it. Like a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
people
what
do
I was
say,
gonna
"Oh,
get
just
into.
wait." Okay.
I was
Yeah.
gonna change the script a little bit and maybe go into some positives of motherhood
Mhm.
and, like,
oh,
what's the most rewarding thing of being a parent, you know? End on
yeah,
a light note here.
Okay.
Send it
Go
home.
ahead, Hal.
um, I feel like there's a lot of rewards coming from my kid, like, you are their person, they look f like, you are the person they wanna see when they wake up in the morning, like, especially when they start, like,
Mhm.
talking, um,
Mhm.
or even not talking, like,
Even when they first start,
uh
like, smiling at you
yes,
and
oh
you,
my
Cooing.
like, feel like
gosh.
you're gonna throw up,
I
like, that
remember
first smile they do.
Theo's first
Mhm.
smile was on my birthday. Like, he
Oh.
was born July 14th, and August 27th, he gave me his first smile, but, yeah, like, things like that, or, like,
Mm.
when they grab your face and, like, pull you in for that
Mhm.
embrace, or I remember, like I had said before, like, Theo didn't talk for a while, I remember, one of we did sign language with him quite a bit, and he picked on that up on that fairly well, and, one of the first
Oh,
signs
yeah.
he did yeah, it was, "I love you," so he did, like, that.
Aw.
Yeah, and I cried,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
but I feel like the love from your child is just so much like, it just
It's different.
it is, like it's hard to explain, actually, um, because they are
And the
just
love that you get that you have towards your child too. Like
mhm,
I love my husband, I love my parents, I love my siblings, I love you guys, I love my dogs. But like something about the way God, she can just look at me and I'm like, oh, like CJ and I were talking, I love you. I want to squeeze your head off. Like I love you so much. Like I have like this like
cute
love
aggression.
aggression to her. Like I just
Yeah.
freaking love you. And she everything she does is so freaking cute to me. And I feel like yeah, and now like, when they start giving you kisses for no
Mhm.
Do you
reason.
think our parents still look at us that way?
No. No,
Speak for
I'm just kidding.
yourself. I'm
I
just
can
kidding.
s- I can say that I think the love for your child, it doesn't change. It's like a very fierce, and I don't know, I can't say because I'm not a man, but I feel like something maternally, I'll just freaking, I'll literally, if anyone gets between my child and me, like I'm gonna pick my child every time,
Every
which is
time.
the way it should be. But
Yes.
obviously, like that, no matter what it is, my child will come first over anything,
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
My
I
husband, my and CJ would say the same, and that thank God, But it's just like this different primal. I don't know.
Instinct.
So then
Yeah.
on another high note, do you guys have any do you or do you want to have any traditions with your kids? Like what would those look like if you don't already have them?
Yeah, with the
um,
holidays coming up, do you guys do anything special? Mm.
not really, actually, not that I can think of off the top of my head. We did Elf on the Shelf last year, we started. Don't do it, friends, if you're listening.
Don't
No, I
do
sounds
it.
like a job,
We're
Holly.
gonna it truly is. Like, we had like, obviously, you have to wait till the kids go to bed, and my kids don't go to bed until 9 o'clock, and then I have to stay up and figure out where I'm putting this damn elf.
I'm not
Like,
that
"Where's he going
creative.
tonight?" Oh, Pinterest was my
Yeah.
go-to.
I saw on TikTok now that you can buy, like, kits for Elf on the Shelf that it
I
gives you every single day.
I did see that, but that's kinda,
I would
like,
do that.
defeating the purpose. Okay.
Well,
Wait,
I'm just
Avery
being
bought
honest.
it?
No, she
I
said
said
I
I
would
would do that.
mhm. The kit.
Mm,
It gives you, like, 25 days of elf things,
Avery,
elf
you
adventures.
can
Yeah.
pay me $50. I'll give you 25 days of elf creativity.
No, You know what I was gonna say, Call? What I think I'm gonna do? She doesn't know about Elf on the Shelf yet. I'm not introducing that shit for fun, okay? If she learns about it at school, then I will, okay? But I
Boo.
I think I'm gonna do that advent calendar
Yes.
book thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I
Oh,
wrap
yeah.
Did
books.
I
She
send that
loves
to you?
books.
Yeah, because I want my
Yes.
husband to do that for me. Somebody slip in a note.
But
I'll
I
just
can even
text
wrap
him.
books that
with
she
that.
already has. She won't care. Like, and we'll unwrap it each night and read it before bedtime.
Yes, but it's
Yeah,
She'll love
that's
that
cute.
it's
shit.
fun for you, it's fun for her, and it's good for everybody. It's good for your wallet, it's good for your spirit, her spirit, mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Education.
Yeah, her brain.
Education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her brain. I will say though,
Yeah.
like my kid, like waking up, the kids were lit every morning. They were so
See,
Yeah,
excited.
and
see,
that's
it's worth
exciting.
it.
Mm-hmm. And I just think like Christmas holidays in general with my kids, like
Mhm.
they make holidays so much more fun, enjoyable.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Collins doesn't really fully get it yet, but now she's getting more excited. Like if she opens something, like she'll gasp,
But I
or
think
like, you know, like if she gets something
Yes.
new, but she doesn't really get it yet, but she still gets excited for new
she's at the
things.
age
So
where
I
it
think
all
this year
plays
will be
off of you guys. Like if you guys she's kind of
Yeah.
like a dog. Like I consider her like a golden retriever age right now. Like if the age
okay.
of dogs, like right now she's in the golden retriever stage where it's like if you go, "Oh,
Yeah,
Collins, what is that?" Like she's going to wag her tail
she'll
and get
get.
excited, you know? And it could
Yes.
be
Yeah.
it could be a
Yes.
fucking avocado and she's like, "What?"
Yes.
Would it be
Yes.
though? Would it be an avocado?
Could be.
It won't be. We don't keep those in the home.
Well, I guess we could kind of end this segment on a high note, like what Stick was saying. But can what each of you share kind of the funniest story that you have about being a mother, or a funny story that your kid has done? I know Holly has a few that I've heard.
I have,
Oh, Holly's
well,
got a few hundred.
I probably do, but I'm thinking of one specifically, and it might not be funny. Like it's funny to me, and it's about Theo. Who is it? Do I even have Arthur and Cleo? Like this past I know I'm trying to think of. Well, Cleo climbed into the toilet the other day. Into the toilet, I heard
Inside.
splashing inside, like her whole body. We'll have to insert pic here.
Yeah.
I'll have to send it to you guys, but. So over the summertime, and I know that Stick and Avery know this story. So Theo did not get potty trained. Like he was delayed, his speech. He had like a physical, what do you call that? Like a physical, he needed physical therapy
Like he needed like
for a
speech
little
therapy.
bit. Well, he had speech.
Collins is in that too.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. It's just like his jumping and his like
Oh.
running type
Yeah.
of thing. He just needed like help with that. Anyway, so he also did not get potty trained until it was last October actually. And so he had some accidents frequently, as they do. But over the summertime, like I was out doing yard work, all the kids were running around, and we were about to go inside, and I smelled poop. And I was like, yeah. So um, it was Theo. I could see it on his leg. And I was like,
Oh.
No,
Not
no.
the poop leg.
and I was like, Theo, did you poop? Like, did you poop your pants? Because he just had underwear on at this point. And he was like, no. And I was like, Theo, did you poop your pants? And he just kept denying it. And then eventually he said, yes. And he said, or so then I asked him, I was like, oh, well, I looked in his underwear and there was like just like a skid mark in there. And I go, and I go, where did it go? And I wish I could like put a video of me doing this. He was acting like he was scooping it out of his underwear with his hand. And I was like, can you show me where it's at? Because it was not in his hand, nor was it in his underwear.
Oh,
He
God.
said no, he wasn't going to show me. But then he took me to the garage and he said, it's in the box. And I said,
Oh.
what box? And he said, and he pointed to it. And so he took his poop, scooped it out of his underwear, and put it in like a small plastic container, like a small plastic container, put it in there and put it back on the shelf.
Oh my God. Just saving it for another day. Seeing if anyone finds it.
But like
I mean, at least it was solid and healthy.
what are we
Kids are crazy.
doing?
I don't
He
know.
said he needed a special spot for it.
Oh my
And he found
god.
one.
But he literally put it in a box and, like, tucked it back away on the shoe shelf.
Maybe
Like, imagine if he never told you where it was.
I would have found
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
It stunk.
6 months later.
It's
It's
stunk,
poop.
Molly says. Yeah, but
Stick, are
it
you
was
gonna
in
find
a
your
closed
poop?
container.
Yeah, I always know when Diggs or Gracie have poop on their paw and come inside
Or when
before I catch them. I'm like,
Yeah.
Finney pees on his
get over
fucking
here.
leg hair, I can smell that shit a mile away. But I think like maybe I mean that is the
Oh.
funniest shit I've ever heard. I mean, who knows what was going through his head? He was probably just like,
I
"Oh,
think
that's
he
it."
was scared. I think he was scared, like,
Like,
that I
that's
was
Yeah.
how
gonna
he
be
knew he
mad.
pooped his
Yes.
pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then he pooped his pants.
So he hid the evidence.
He's like, "I'm scooping
But
it,"
he
and
he got it on his leg. Whoops.
yeah,
You gotta clean up
unfortunately.
the full crime scene.
Oh. Oh. Collins hasn't really done like there's not one thing that like vividly sticks out to me. Like she's still just a baby. Like she does funny shit all the time, but nothing in particular. Like has she played with her own poop before? Yeah, that sucks. I mean,
Yeah, it
I don't
does.
know a kid that hasn't. Yeah, when you find like I look over and it was just one time so far, but now I like have to leave pants on her because she's like at that stage where she wants to stick her hands down her diaper. It's gross.
Mhm.
I don't know. Kids do it though. And yeah, she was like we were outside and she was like smashing her hands together and I thought it was dog shit at first. But
Oh.
as I got closer, it was like she was like
No.
almost using it like lotion. Yeah.
Dude, fuck no.
And I was like, what do I do in this moment? CJ was at work. I was like, do I hose her down? Like she was
Yeah, I would take
outside.
that garden hose and I'd put it on fucking full like whatever the full throttle is and I would just spray the
Full
shit
blast.
down her
Full
throttle.
blast. I
She
didn't think it was
launches.
gonna
She
be like
gets launched.
yeah. Yeah. It's it's like the poop is it's nasty.
It's always
Just be
poop.
prepared.
It's
It is
always
poop.
poop. Like Cleo, like we let our cats out at night and they ended up pooping in our garage one day and Cleo got out there before I did and she was
Oh,
also had it in hand and I
playing in
was
the
like, "Why?"
sucks. It sucks, man.
It almost
Wild they gravitate.
like but also in the moment I'm like, "Are like it doesn't stink? Like it's
Yeah, what are you
Right, like,
appealing?
doing?
what
Is
possessed
that a
you, like yeah, like, is it appealing? Do you wanna go pick it up and smush it in your hands?
I feel like there's such a set and like there's a certain path or timeline that people think their kids should be on, whether like
Yeah.
for developmental things or like potty
Yeah,
training. And
everything.
it's kind of like accepting like what you and Eric did and being like, you know what, like he's not getting it. He'll get it in his own time. And like, let's not stress about it and move on.
Yeah, I feel like that all around, especially because like development, I would stay like Eric and I would be I just want to bring it back to like when Theo wasn't talking. We would stay up Googling until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because we thought something was wrong with him and we were going down all the wrong rabbit holes. So I feel like, yes, like they should be hitting those milestones. And yes, like you should be reaching out to your pediatrician if you have concerns about your child and their development. But also, some kids do things on their own time. Like, and I want to say,
Mhm.
like, I just want to follow up with we ended Theo was in speech for a couple of years. We did end up taking him to an oral surgeon because he ended up having really, really bad ties in his mouth. So he had oral surgery. He had to be put under, and he had his upper, his two cheek ties, his tongue, and his lower lip tie released. They said it's like the tightest that they could have been.
Holy
Mm.
crap.
What and yeah, and then
I can't believe they didn't catch that in the hospital.
nobody looked. And
Weird.
he ended up having was it 2 pediatricians before we even took him to see Megan, Megan Howard, shout out to you. A private speech. And yeah, she recommended us to go to it's like a suburbs to have him looked at. And not shortly after not long after that at all, he started talking. Like whether had that
Right.
That's
yeah,
so crazy.
it
I
was
think that had at least some to do with it.
I couldn't
Oh,
agree more.
100%.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he almost couldn't talk even if he wanted to.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
like he
this
couldn't move his lips how he wanted.
Mhm.
he
Uh,
Well, and
mhm.
that's why he said, like, he used to not like vacuums or, like, certain loud noises, and he still does to an extent. But he's like, when you're so tight in your mouth, like your mouth is connected to your whole body, and when your mouth is that tight, like your shoulders are tight, like your body is tight, you're anxious, you're
It's
tensed up,
tense all the
like
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm So he's like,
Hmm.
after this release, like you might see like a little more relaxation, like not as you know, taken back by loud noises and stuff like that. And he really wasn't.
Mhm.
So it is crazy how like I just wanted to put that out there because I feel like a lot of people worry about like developmental like milestones and stuff, and as you should as a parent, but um
I think
obviously
seeing seeing Theo go through that and like everything work out and like
hmm
be okay. He just needed like a little extra help and some surgery.
yeah.
That actually made me more calm than when Collins was delayed in her gross motor skills because I was like, you know what? I'll get her the help she needs. We'll get her into physical therapy. It's gonna be fine. And they checked her out. They made sure she didn't have any like syndromes or anything like as
hmm
far as like her muscles and her joints and things. And no, everything was fine. They diagnosed her with like low muscle tone, but basically that was gonna correct itself as time went on. And so
Mhm.
she didn't crawl until she was about 11 months, and she didn't walk until she was 17 months. So,
Yeah,
and they
Theo,
said that's all within the
yeah.
normal realm.
He
So
also walked late as well. Um
yeah,
yeah, so I feel like just coming from that, you have to be the advocate for your child, especially like in those
yeah,
circumstances. Like you are their voice. Like
yeah.
whether you have concerns or not, like yeah, you gotta be their person. Speak
And
up for
just bring
them.
them up, even if you think it's a stupid question or like
Mm-hmm.
something silly that your doctor's going to write off. You never know. Like, if you notice something, you're the one who spends 24/7 with your kid. You need
Right.
to
I feel like
tell
if
their
you know
doctor.
something's off, something's off. Like you
Yeah.
said, you're with them constantly.
And
Yeah.
even though, like, Theo, like, what if you would have never brought that to the attention of his doctors and he never would have got the surgery that he needed? And, like, if he wasn't in speech therapy and Megan didn't notice that,
Mm-hmm.
like, he could still be struggling now and he could be frustrated. You could be frustrated. You could be upset.
Mhm.
And for what? It's like, you'd it's almost like when people try to avoid answers with their own health because they're like too overwhelmed to find out if there's something
Whoa,
wrong with them.
Avery,
Well,
are
there's
you
something
coming
wrong.
at me right now?
No, I'm not. I was talking more like about like
Hmm.
people being like almost like not wanting to put their kids into therapy because they think like their kids are going to be judged or like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
No,
people are
I
like,
get
Yeah.
my kids
I
don't
get
need
what you're
help.
saying.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, why wouldn't you want your kids
They
to
just
have
want to
all
act
the
like
possible?
everything's okay.
Yeah, because they think their kid's going to be judged or something for getting help. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oh, your kid is behind. Like, so they don't want their kid to be like have a stigma. But like, why wouldn't
But
you get them help? I don't
I think
understand
that's
that.
where people are interpreting like the timeline in the wrong way. Like I think obviously like from a medical standpoint, you have to have a timeline on when kids are supposed to hit a certain like milestone, but that timeline is to tell you like is something going on, like you know what I mean, like trigger you to kind of like start searching to see if something's going on, where I feel like people who don't think of it that way, they're like, oh, they just want to talk shit, but it's like that milestone isn't there to talk shit, it's there to literally for doctors to be like, okay, we've hit x amount of years, your kid's not doing this, like let's start kind of looking into it. And people, it's just human nature for them to start kind of,
They get like
yeah,
defensive.
I
Yeah.
guess. But
It's like, what about like, what if teacher, like, I've noticed this too, like, if teachers notice like your kid is struggling in class, and then they recommend like what's it called, like a
an
IEP or
IEP, yeah.
whatever, like
Yeah.
yeah, and parents get like mad. I would be like, oh, you're noticing that? You're the one working with them in class every day. If you think they need the help, I absolutely
But
want them to have
I
the
think
help.
a lot of I mean that's a different topic. I won't go into it. Maybe another episode. But um well,
Bring Holly
yeah,
back.
bring her back.
Theo had an
Um
IEP.
did
Oh,
he?
see, there you go.
How
He
did
just
you
graduated at the end of last year.
So how did you feel when did they present that to you?
Yes, they did, but I knew he was going to need it because he entered preschool like right when he could to get those extra services. So we had him in private speech, but he was also receiving speech at school, and he was also receiving physical therapy at school. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad they have those. And especially like
Yeah.
at Oregon, like they have like those extra services for those kids, and I'm so grateful that they
And
did cuz
I
yeah, he
think
graduated
That's
already.
I
awesome.
think that's
Mhm.
one great
Yeah.
thing about public school, where like I mean do your own research, but a lot of my friends here where Caleb and I live now, like uh they're looking to put their kids in private school, but private schools don't offer a lot of those same
It's because
opportunities
it's
that
like
public
it's
school.
state funded.
State.
Yeah, exactly.
It's through the state.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even Collins' physical therapy is through the state right now.
Hmm.
I don't have to pay anything.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, Theo
And they
was in
said
speech
too,
through the state before we even got into school, like before anything happened with school wise. Yeah.
yeah, they told me too, like kind of similar to Theo. They said if they think they're pretty much phasing her out of physical therapy because she's doing everything now. She pretty much, I mean, she's clumsy as all get out, but
Hence her
well,
face.
muscle tone, you know.
We love
What are you
that for
gonna
her
do?
though. Yeah, that was she hit the ground,
clumsy
man.
girl. Hit the pavement.
Avery,
Hard.
do you think that
Yeah.
if we went to a physical therapist, they would name me and you as low muscle tone in our
Oh,
abdomen?
I don't think I've ever had high muscle tone. I
Your
don't think
your
CJ does either.
calves? Have you seen those?
Well, my
Those are pure
my
muscle.
core, shut up. My core is so weak, and it always
Same.
has been. And mom's core is so
No,
weak. And
my
your
core is so weak.
I said this is genetic,
Yeah.
baby. Yeah. Sorry
But
about
also-
you, Collins. That's my bad.
After having children, though, your core is
Oh.
so compromised.
It's shot.
I can't wait for
Just
that
give
because
up.
mine's already pretty
Give
compromised.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
McCall, just wait. Like,
Can they build me
I
a new one
can't.
while I'm out, or
Yeah.
A transplant.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they can do surgery if you have like diastasis recti or whatever. That's a whole
Oh, like
other
if you
subject,
tear
but
that,
none.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
your abs, like the separation.
oh wow,
Yeah, you'll be okay though.
Do you have
It's
to
fine.
have abs first for that to happen?
yeah.
No, everybody has
How do you-
abs.
I know. I'm just kidding,
Oh, I was
idiot.
Avery,
like,
we're
come
literally
on.
just joking.
God.
Anyways,
I never know with you guys.
please.
Please.
99% of the
All
things
right.
that come out of my mouth are a joke. You should know that.
Okay, well, since we had to talk about so much motherly stuff tonight, we don't have time for our football. So I know you guys are all disappointed.
Well, all right. Well, as always, thank you guys for tuning into the episode. If you liked this, feel free to go ahead and hit follow and the bell notification on our Spotify. We do appreciate you guys tuning into these episodes. We enjoy doing them, and we hope to keep it going.
Yeah. Catch you next time.
See you next time.
Blacked out, baby.
Blacked out.